The main hero to this is this chiseled chin, like blue-haired dude wearing a red cape, and I'm like, that is the Western cover of Breath of Fire.
Hello and welcome to another Damn Anime podcast. My name is Nick and I will be your host. Here with me is my good buddy Joe. Joe, how you doing tonight?
Doing all right, doing all right. Yeah, just a lot of interesting anime coming out that's getting dubbed. So a lot of redundant watching on my part because a few of them I would like to actually hear the English voices.
Yeah,
And I happened to choose the right ones that were popular enough, I guess, to get dubbed. A few of them are still subbed for now. But
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. There's a lot of stuff that gets done these days. I mean, it's almost the norm. I feel like, but yeah, you're kind of going in circles there, getting the dubbing out, and just like, you're just gonna jump onto that. There's a lot of good stuff coming out right now. I'm watching a lot less of it than you. That is for sure. I would say. I did start Jujutsu Kaisen, the first season. So I am
I'm
slow.
rewatching that one right now too. So
Yeah. Well, good, good. I'm slowly going through that. I will say I think the anime is better than the manga. I think a previous episode of this podcast, I expressed that I didn't think the manga was very good. You told me not to read it or not to bother with it. I am getting closer to taking your advice, though I don't think I'm quite there yet. But yeah, so I think I just finished like episode 3 of the anime first season of Jujutsu Kaisen, and the girl is in it a lot more than she is in the manga, which I found to be refreshing because it's sort of a sausage fest for a while there though. There are some interesting characters that do come up in the manga that are not all
I had to
human.
explain to a friend who happened to visit while I was watching I think I was in like episode like 8 or something 9, and they just happened to be here, and so I paused it. I'm like, okay, they are big Naruto fans, so I'm like, all right, here or they had gone through the original Naruto series. I'm like,
Okay,
all right, so I paused. All right, so I'm like, this is Kakashi Sensei, this is Naruto, this is Sasuke,
like turned it.
this is Sakura, and so they're like, now that you got the analogies, because their personalities are quite similar.
Oh,
I'm like, the only difference is Sakura doesn't have a crush on Sasuke here. Sakura's her own independent person. She's much better than, the actual Sakura. And like the animation, just episode 1 and 2, the animation is really good. I remember that just the fight scenes really caught me off guard.
yeah. There's some
And
good popping off fight scenes there.
yeah, no, the series is, I generally like it. I love that ending. The ending is kind of awesome. It's very, I don't know. It just there's something. It reminds me of like Korean commercials or something like that. Uh, it's that sketch ending tamer,
Mm,
the ending trailer, where it's them walking through the door dancing, and each
yeah,
one has their own dance move set. And I'm like, I love that scene. I
it's a good song. The animation is really good for that because they're like dancing around and it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
I have a desk mat that I bought that's over at a different desk. That's the four of them drawn in that style.
Yeah, that's
So,
pretty cool.
it's
That's cool. That's man.
the yeah. I hope you end up liking it. There's it's pretty solid all around, and I have yet to see the movie The Zero. So it's
Mm,
one of those things that instead of just watching it, like, I watched this with my wife, and it's been a number of years. So we're going ahead and rewatching it while rewatching uh Kaguya-sama and showing her Konosuba. So it's like we finish one season of something, and then we kind of go to the next. And so we're finishing up season 2 of Kaguya-sama. When that's finished, we're gonna go finish up the rest of Jujutsu Kaisen, and then probably make our way to Konosuba. So it's
okay.
like a slow burn on each of them. But that way, because they just started dubbing They have episode 1 dubbed of Jujutsu Kaisen season 2. So that's good news, I
Yeah,
think.
I've been watching it dubbed, the season one. So I checked in on the sub, and the voice actors were not really particularly. I didn't feel like the dub had messed it up or anything. Um, as far as like the way that they are portraying it. So, and I didn't feel like the Japanese version was really particularly special, at least with the main characters. Um, so I was like, yeah, I think I'm just gonna make this easier on myself, since I was getting a little bit skeptical of the quality or how much I was gonna like it anyway. Um, but yeah, it's so I'll probably just slip right on into season two whenever I get to that point. Just keep going with the dubbing, and hopefully it'll be pretty far along. Probably just what are they, like 2 episodes behind, maybe?
Yeah, usually is the case.
Yeah.
I actually there at least one, if not 2 episodes.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm hopefully gonna get through season 1 within the next probably couple weeks is
Okay.
my guess.
Yeah. Me too.
So
Um.
yeah, what else you been watching?
So I just today started watching a little anime called Zom 100. It is on Netflix, and I picked it out because it was not a season two anime, and it was in the top three highest anime rated on myanimelist.com right now. So I was like, okay, I'll give this a try. And there's 2 episodes out on Netflix right now. And I can say it is quite good, at least for these first 2 episodes. A lot of CG, but I think in kind of the best way possible. The CG they seem to be using it to aid in the actual hand drawn animation. It seems like it's like that's CG, but it's like we were able to do more faster hand drawn with like using CG as like a rocket engine, not CG doing all of the animation. It's sort of hard to describe, and I could be wrong, but it's sort of hard to describe until you actually see the way that it's being animated. Very bright, a lot of good animation these first couple episodes. Zombies obviously require crowds, and crowds are like the hardest thing to animate because it's so much that's moving and it has to make sense. But they do a good job of keeping the crowds like reasonably small, and just doing a good job with it. It is. I'll go into the plot a little bit.
All right. Well, all right. I was gonna say with that, you forgot the rest of the title because it's Zom 100 colon bucket list of the dead.
Okay, yeah, yeah. So that kind of gives more of it away, so I don't feel so bad. So basically, uh, you know, spoilers for the first half of the first episode, um, if you're concerned with that. But this is basically the premise of the show. So it's a young guy graduated from college or whatever, starting his first job. Very happy to be starting his first job. Come to find out that it is a black company. So in Japanese, a black company is, you can probably do a better job explaining this, Joe, but it's a company that is horrible to its
It's a
workforce.
corporate sweatshop, essentially. It's they work their businessmen to the bone. Expect think lots of unpaid overtime, a lot of crunch. If you're using video game terms, but you have to meet deadlines under harsh conditions, and it's just social life. You're just there, giving all your effort and all your life to a company. So Black being like just a dark, miserable company,
Yeah.
and so that's the that is the case where and you'll see this a lot in Japanese anime. Well, they'll talk about a black company or kuro, so it's yeah, I have not seen this Zom 100
So
actually. So this is Yeah, I'm kind of curious. I've
So
seen the cover of the manga, but I've never gotten around to it.
it's actually really kind of cool the way that the way they show it. But like, because he like goes out for drinks with his new coworkers after working all day, and then they all stand up at the end and go, "Okay, time to go back to work." And he's like, "What?" And it just like zooms in on his face. He's like, "How is this possible?" And you could just like he's just like, "What?" He just like kind of goes back with them. And he's just like staring at his computer, and they're just like working all night. And then he said he didn't get to go home for like 2 days, and it shows that. And so like when the zombie outbreak happens, he is elated because he doesn't have to go to work anymore, and it's very funny. And then like it proceeds on from there, so I won't like spoil it like anymore. Obviously, you kind of know what a zombie outbreak is really going to be. But the lead character is good. A couple, not too many, but like one that I can think of actually. One good side character has
So
kind of
more Zombie Land, less Night of the Living Dead.
yeah. I would say that that is definitely the feel is a bit more Zombieland esque, but it is a good it's a good one so far. I don't know how it's gonna end up, but definitely these through these first two episodes, highly recommend. Very good.
All right.
So that's what I've been watching. Joe, you've been keeping up with some of the ones that you talked about last week, and also looks like a couple new ones as well. So what have you been watching?
All right. So one of the which I've watched that's getting a English dub is, or I've been watching it in Japanese, and I finally got an English dub, and I'm probably gonna stick with it because it's in English, just because it's not good enough, in my opinion, to stick around. Is Sweet Reincarnation. Now, this one is about a a patissier who gets isekai'd. Uh,
Okay.
but it angers me because they keep on referring to him as a patissier, but he dies in a sugar confection contest. You know, like with those the giant sugar statues that people make,
Yes.
where they're like, "I'm gonna make this giant ornate dragon and this, like the Statue of Liberty and stuff like that." So he's moving his giant uh phoenix, and the statue falls on him and he dies.
Mm.
That is how he ruins the event for everyone else. Uh so he is then isekai'd, and I forget his name now, but it is royally dumb. They call him, it might be something like casserole or something like that. They give him a literal family name of food. um and it was just it reminds me
Okay.
of, is it Sorceress Hunters, which was like the main character was carrot glaze, and you had like mint chocolate, and like these were actual character names, so it threw me back to that. And this was like a late 90s, like early 2000s anime. uh but yeah, so I don't know, this the gist of it is he's born into, in a fantasy world. His dad is uh, a new lord who was like a knight who got awarded his land, and they made a barren land fertile. Essentially, they planted crops, and so he's they're going to be a successor of this place. And essentially, he has sweets on it. He loves baking, and he has all that on his brains. He goes, we can't do sugar here, so I need to somehow get sugar in the future. But they do wheat, and they can grow beans, and so I can do all these things with beans. And they're just looking at him like, where are you getting all these ideas from? And then he's just like, oh, because he keeps on speaking it out loud, or he's in the middle of sword training, and he's just like, oh, if I can get sugar, I can do this. And then of course he gets beat because he's too busy daydreaming. Um,
Mm.
episode one was like, meh, it's okay, but episode two is actually got better. Like it's interesting to see like their land gets invaded by some bandits, and he gets to go under a rite of passage to earn his magic. In a lot of these anime, they have some sort of coming of age thing where you get your role of some sort, and so yeah, it's by episode two, it was interesting. I haven't seen I don't think episode three is out yet, and so it's entertaining enough. It's nothing too serious, nothing too heavy. I'll probably continue watching it in English just because it's one of those good to have in the background. Maybe if I'm, like doing the dishes or something, cooking some food, or I don't have to necessarily devote 100% of my attention to. But it's the animation is solid. The actual like character, animation while they're like doing the sword fight and stuff like that. I was actually kind of impressed, considering the the childlike subject. I don't know. It's just everything seems so lighthearted because that's all he wants to do is bake. And so while like other people are like, oh yeah, he's going to be a strong warrior, and you can see his earnest look on his face. He wants to protect this land, and he's thinking, I need to protect it so I can make baked goods. And I'm like, and everyone else, so it's just like I don't know, it's silly, but it's not bad. So
Sounds good, man.
let's see,
Sounds all right.
yeah, well. One that I mentioned last time is Reborn as a vending machine. Now I wander the dungeon. So this one, still watching it in Japanese, but it's got an English dub as well. Uh, English dubbing is just fine. And also, if you're looking for something really chill, like not, it's ridiculous and it's pretty funny. Uh, I think it's all right. I mean, it's totally worth. If it's another chill watch. Nothing I can't say it's like, rock your world, but it's most definitely an easygoing thing.
Goes down easy, huh?
Um, so one that I'm liking a bit more than I expected is the Great Cleric. So this one also
Yes.
just got a English dubbed, but I've been following this one in Japanese, and I'll continue to follow this one in Japanese as well. I think just because I want to be able to see it that much sooner. And the voices are fine on both accounts. It's just this one is oh, I think the last time I mentioned, I think he got stabbed, but it turns out he got shot. I forgot. He was a very gun ho like businessman, like earnest, like good guy, and some crazy bad guy ends up taking a gun from a cop in the conbini box, and the cop tackles him, and the gun goes off, and that's how he dies. So he gets isekai that way. The
Gun
animation
song.
quality on this one is a little more homely, though. You're looking at
Hmm.
like,
So,
ooh, yeah, these
it's
other characters,
ugly.
they're just
It's fugly animation. Okay.
not quite fugly, homely. There's a subtle charm.
All right.
It's this, everyone has to start their anime somewhere. Um, so, oh, but it's just if you want to watch a anime about someone who is earnest, who tries really hard, and isn't necessarily, oh, it's just like a wholesome show. Like this is also another one of those. Um, yeah, like I said, it's entertaining, and I think I'm gonna stick with that one without a doubt. Uh, Now, another interesting one that I've been watching is I didn't even realize this was the title until I had to pull it up. Uh, the most heretical last boss queen uh, from villainous to savior. All right, this is another one of those. Uh, Girl gets isekai'd into the villain role of said story. I think this was her Otome game, and she is so not only is she the villainess, like she is straight up like an evil character, not just like I'm a bully and like everyone hates the bully, and like no, her route is to straight up die because she has like physically tortured, like and mentally like abused the other characters of the story. So she is truly wicked, and then so of course like she's doing her best to change that. And slight spoiler for like episode 1 or something like that, like she ends up meeting her like half brother character who her character in the game tricks she goes, yeah, sign this paperwork and then we'll be able to have you meet your mom in like a year or something. You have to work for us. And he's like, okay. And then after he signs it, she's like, yeah, you're stupid. You just signed away your like a life debt essentially. So you're now my servant for life. And you literally have to do what I say. And apparently later on, she straight up has that character. The character's whole goal, motivation is like, I'm going to endure this so I can meet my mom again. And he's like, I don't know, early elementary school kid. And she's like, she later on had like apparently is so evil. She's like, yeah, kill your mom. So he goes ahead and stabs his mom because he's ordered to. Like it's like, wow, you are a bad person.
Oh,
Um, so I'm like, wow, that's pretty dark. But of course, she's doing everything, that's not of her character, and yeah, it's uh, I guess it's more jarring just because she's supposed to be this much more evil. But I think I finished episode 3 or something like that, and it's going pretty good. It's as for one of these anime. There's a few other things been watching. It's more of the am I actually the strongest? Um, I talked about it the last time. One of the ones I didn't talk about is Dark Gathering, and this was like a horror anime. It is only currently in Japanese, and so essentially this kid, he literally states it really briefly in the beginning. Due to an incident, he has been kind of cursed, and so he can see, or he's a kind of a semi-magnet towards like evil, evil things. So the kind of yokai or spirit, more so of the ghost variety, and he ends up tutoring this girl who has also been through her share of like cursed stuff, and she's just this little tiny child, while he is like a high school kid, and uh she essentially she brings him to different cursed areas, like like if you hear a story about like this woman who was a hostess who manipulated and robbed a bunch of, essentially fleeced a bunch of guys. So they took their revenge and murdered her in a phone booth
mm,
or something like that. Or they chased her to a phone booth and murdered her. So her ghost haunts there. And so they bring him there, and it kind of wakens the spirit and like makes it super aggressive. So she turns out and she like fights it, more or less. It's not super. Oh, it's different, and they do a very good job of trying to invoke the Japanese horror like elements. Like they have the right noises and sound effects.
right.
So I'm not 100% sure what to think of it. It's creepy enough. It has like it's a weird. It's weird enough as a main idea. So uh, I've there's only been 2 episodes so far, and I'm going to continue to give it a shot. It's still a little too early to tell. Um, it's just, it's very interesting because the animation's kind of cutesy. Like the little girl's face, she has two skulls for eyes, essentially. She has what happens is she has like double pupils, essentially, is
Uh,
what it's supposed to be. Um, and it enables her to see like the ethereal or whatever. Um, and
it's kind of
her
cool.
character design is, like I said, more of a cutesy chibi-ish style, but then you have it juxtaposed with this like horror element. So yeah, it might be worth giving a shot, especially if you're a fan of that kind of stuff. um I usually am not, so it's not, it's a little me going a little bit outside my wheelhouse, but it's not bad. And
Nice.
yeah, I think that's really it. The last one I'm going to mention, I've only watched 1 episode, and there's only 2 episodes out right now. Is one called Helck, Helck. I brought this up mostly because I'm not really sure what to think of it right now. But the only I couldn't get past like the very beginning in my mind, because I'm like, this dude looks super familiar, and it took me like a full like minute. And I'm like, that's why I remember him. The main hero to this is this chiseled chin, like blue haired dude wearing a red cape, and I'm like, that is the Western cover of Breath of Fire. Like this, like is literally the SNES cartridge. That is his cover. I'm like, that is that they just ripped that person and made into this anime. Uh, it's so far episode 1 seemed to be okay. It's just a fantasy, like the hero, demon lord, that whole bit. um I don't really know how invested I am right now. I might wait until they drop a couple episodes, and I might binge them and then make my decision from there. But yeah, outside of that, I think that's the most of it on a whole. I do I am excited slightly about so Reign of the Seven Spellblades got an English dub.
Hmm.
I watched, so I forgot what this was. I watched episode 1 subbed, then realized, oh, I've read the first 2 chapters of this multiple times in the past. and I've completely forgot about it. And then I rewatched, like, I read it. I'm like, oh, this seems interesting. And then, but I have too much other stuff to read, so I forgot about it. Went back to it. What's this? Reread it. I'm like, oh, I remember this from before, and then dropped it again. And then when I watched the episode, I'm like, that's this one. And so
Now you're gonna drop it.
I'm like, well, maybe I'll just do the anime and just get the Cliff Notes version.
Yeah, that's
So
probably the easiest way.
I mean, it wasn't. No, by all means, what I remember of it was interesting, but at the same time, I just, when it comes to when you have 60 tabs open for different manga, and you're like, yeah, you can, you just kind of like, all right, I just can't really fit much in else in, or it has to be exceptional for me to then dedicate more time to. Um, yeah, I still recommend My Happy Marriage from last week.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I'm really curious to see where it's going to play, because it's very different. It's just, girl treated like crap in episode 1, and you're like, okay, this is kind of boring. She's a Cinderella character. Um, stepmom and younger sister, half sisters, their stepsister, terrible people. Roger that. Episode 2, uh, pulled a thing where you're like, oh, okay, you did something just different enough to make it interesting. And it's just in episode 3, I'm like, all right, you're still all right, but it's just a normal love story, I guess, or it's just like it's like a lighthearted shojo style story. So, um, yeah, there's, outside of that, there's not much else. Finished a few things here and there, but nothing exceptional. And I am very disappointed that Rent a Girlfriend season 3 has gotten an English dub.
Yeah.
I ended up watching this one. I watched season 2, and I
Why?
hated every moment of it. Because I had to see if it got any better.
No, you didn't. Just stop, Joe.
24 episodes of zero character progression, and here's
You're
to
like
another 12.
you're like drinking. You're like drinking toilet water, and you're like, I'm gonna take another drink to see if it gets any better.
Who knows? Maybe. Once again, it's one of those things that at least scours the brain and makes you really appreciate the more mediocre things in life.
Yeah,
Um,
maybe.
I don't know, man. Yeah. So, there's some other stuff that's, hopefully might get subbed or dubbed in the near future.
Mm.
And yeah, I'm trying, after you mentioned getting caught up on Demon Slayer. I'm like, well, I never did the Mugen Train, the season 2 or whatever, or
Oh yeah.
so I'm like, I'm really far behind. And I'm like, well, maybe I started getting into that. I'm like, no, dude, I'm catching up on too many other things as well, so I just don't have the time as of yet. But once I finish, maybe Kaguya-sama, because my
Yeah.
wife and I both liked Demon Slayer. So like once we finish Kaguya-sama, or finish catching up on, uh, the Konosuba, or even Jujutsu Kaisen season 1, then I'll be able to make some room and slide that into that spot maybe. Um,
Yeah, I think it's
but
worth it. I mean, even if, it is shonen as shonen, so you kind of have to just sort of deal with that. Be ready for that. But, it doesn't really give you too much BS, too much filler. The animation's good, and yeah, it's not too long. I mean, like each season is only like, you know, 13 episodes or whatever, so it's not like a double. It's not like 2 full seasons of anime for one season of the show.
did you ever finish Hell's Paradise?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's granted, leaving it wide open for the season 2, which I'm not begrudging it. It's just it'll be interesting to see how that one plays out. Though they killed the immortal at the end, so spoiler, but um,
Yeah.
or a immortal. And you know what? That's fine. They at least made progress.
I
Is
think
the
I
way I looked
finished
at it.
it. I don't know. I was kind of losing. It's kind of losing some interest in it. Overall, it's not bad, but it got kind of typical anime, if you will, and so I sort of was like, yeah, okay, this is, yeah, I finished it, but Yeah, it just seems like it's not at the tippy top of Mappa's list of anime to make, which makes sense. They're making a lot of good anime, right now. So this probably has the B team on it. But anyway,
I'm curious of what they're gonna do with this last bit is they are dubbing now Horimiya the missing pieces. So
mm,
I'm curious. I don't know much about this because they had seemingly gone through the entire uh the manga last in the previous arc. This so I'm not sure if this is just uh filler. I'm not really sure. But I really did like Horimiya. It was a it's a the base story was a guy um who seems like that, the introvert and just quiet dude in the corner. Turns out his when he's outside of school, he is much more of a like a punk character. He has like a bunch of piercings, a punk in the Japanese sense, because he has like a bunch of piercings in his ear. He wears more of the like the chain, wallet type of style, and he becomes acquainted with one of his classmates who she seems like the very popular girl, very personable, but she always like rushes home right away, and then you realize she helps take care of her younger brother, and she kind of has this like homely like a side of her that she doesn't show. So because they find each other's secret, they kind of hang out. And so it's a cute little, love story. And I really liked it. Horimiya was a solid read and solid watch. So I'm curious about this missing pieces bit. I just haven't gotten around to even looking at the Japanese or the English version. So maybe next time I'll come back with a little more information about that.
okay, okay,
All right.
sounds good. All right, is that all you got? Anything else?
Yep. That is it, man.
Okay, me too. Um, yeah, so that's gonna do it for us. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Take it easy, guys.